So we can start if you want.
Sure.
So I'll tell you a little bit about my program,
Mm-hmm.
and then I'll just ask you some questions if that's okay with you.
Sounds awesome.
Yeah, so my program, I'm working on releasing grief from the 5 layers of the body, so the kosha layers.
Mm-hmm.
And one on the physical layer of the body, some of the tools are food and herb and cleansing techniques. And for me, that's not a huge area of expertise, so that's why I wanted to talk to you.
Mm-hmm.
And so maybe you could tell us a little bit about what you do.
Well, with grief, from an Ayurvedic standpoint, we would be looking at basically at a Vata derangement. I mean, in Ayurveda, you have your 3 body mind types: Vata, Pitta, and Kapha, and they're related to the elements: water, earth, fire, air, and ether. And when we're grieving, we would address it similarly to depression or to shock, because it's a trauma to the system, right?
Mm-hmm.
So with that, yes, you would certainly address it with herbs, spices, with food, like you probably do in your practice with yoga, with breathing techniques, pranayama.
Mm-hmm.
And you would be, it depends on what stage of grief you're talking about. If a person is getting over a loss, or be that losing somebody passed away, or even loss of a relationship or whatnot, in the beginning you would probably not want to jump right into detoxing.
Mm-hmm.
That can be quite invasive and can bring up a lot of emotions that the person might not actually be ready to deal with at that point.
Mm-hmm.
So you would be looking at supporting the system, because grief or trauma, shock in any kind of way, can really impair your nervous system. And you would be looking at trying to support the person from that angle. Does that make sense?
Totally does, yeah. In a nice gentle way at first, for sure, hey?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. So do you want to let us know kind of what you would do to support the body in that way?
Absolutely. One thing, when I think of grief, and I've been in a situation like that, I want to say recently, even though it's been 2 years, but sometimes it's it seems more recent than you would want it to. Getting into nature is huge. Huge, huge, huge. And it doesn't matter what time of year. I remember when I was going through this process, I wasn't able to breathe until I actually got out in the morning, and just step outside the door into the cold and just take a few deep breaths in, and just connect that way. And I didn't notice if it was raining or sunny, or how it was outside. It just kind of that reconnection, just getting outside, and even standing in the grass, or looking over a body of water, a lake, or the ocean, can make a big difference in how we set ourselves up. And also, meditation, breathing, like I said, breathing techniques, something that can always bring you back into your body, into the present moment, is, breathing on a count of 4. You want to inhale on a count of 4, hold your breath on a count of 4, exhale slowly on a count of 4, hold your breath. Doing that for 2 or 3 minutes can also really make a big difference in resetting, when that emotion hits.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Definitely.
and that's just what happens sometimes, even when you think you've moved on, or you move to a different stage, you still get that hit once in a while where you feel like you can't breathe. And
Yeah.
mm-hmm. Yeah, it sounds
Thank
like you've been
you.
there. So with herbs or with food, at some point, I mean, when you're holding on to grief, like you said, in the koshas, in the different layers of your body, and your makeup, you want to get rid of these feelings. You want to, think about doing a gentle detox. When you're just getting over, well, when you're in the grieving process, and you're just getting over, a situation you are grieving, it might be a little bit invasive to jump right into a detox. So what you would probably want to do is support your body with foods that are more nurturing to your nervous system.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time are really easy to digest, because the last thing you want is, having heavy comfort foods going into your system, and then they sit in your gut and they clog everything up, and your mind doesn't process properly anymore, and everything is just kind of bogged down. And I mean, even when we're not grieving, we know how we feel when we eat a big piece of cheesecake and drink a glass of beer, and right, and then you sit there for 3 hours later and you can't move, and so that's not the best idea. But at the same time, supportive food. So what I'm talking about is foods that are easy to digest. Some steamed vegetables, or even steamed fruit, depending on the time of the year. I mean, right now we're in summer. You probably don't want to, start baking apples and sitting around a fireplace. But even though that would be very romantic. But just steaming your vegetables. Like, give them a quick steam, or give them a quick, blanch them in water, so they're easier to digest. The fibers are broken down. Mm-hmm. And and when we're talking about detoxing, quite often we go to drinking juices and eating raw foods and that kind of thing, and that's not a bad idea for some types, but for a lot of us, it's really, really difficult to digest. And when you're going through that process of grieving and like I said, trauma and maybe a mild depression and whatever else might be going on with you, you don't want to add that load to your system. So you want to eat things like the steamed vegetables, steamed fruit. Fruit, period, is easy to digest. You might want to look at eating more dals, like lentils, stews, and dishes like in Ayurveda we often use khichdi for cleansing, which is a dish that's made with basmati rice and mung dal and certain spices that is really great to give you that gentle, very gentle detoxing effect. It's very light on your digestion, so your body can work with it, and it supports you while you're cleansing. Mm-hmm. And it's very easy on the system. So that's probably what you would want to do in terms of food, to just see if you can tone it down a little bit. Maybe try to stay away from big clunks of dead meat, basically. Yes. And lots of sugar, and and maybe avoid the white foods like white flour and, like I say, white sugar and all that kind of stuff we already know don't support our system and don't give us the nutrition that we need. We need to get the nutrition from foods that are fresh, easy to digest, slightly cooked, and that kind of thing.
Perfect. Yeah, thank you. Is there anything else that you want to add?
Oh yeah, what's really great to do is, if you're like I say, grieving or trauma, depression, what falls into that category does take a number on the Vata dosha, and something that everybody can do to support the Vata dosha is to there is a drink that you can whip up. It's made with milk, or you can use almond milk or coconut milk, or whatever the preference is, and ghee and dates. And it's nice and sweet and a little bit heavy, and use cardamom, a little bit of black pepper, cinnamon. And if it's available at all in your health food store, you can get Ayurvedic herbs like ashwagandha or shatavari. And these are herbal powders. They don't have a lot of taste on their own, but if you put a little bit into that drink and then just blend it up, and you want to warm it up on the stove and then just drink it at night before you go to bed. And what that does is it's a very, very nourishing and building drink. Mm-hmm. So it's not necessarily something you would lose weight on, but I think that's the least concern we have at this point.
Yeah.
And it's also very calming, with ashwagandha and the shatavari being adaptogens. But even if you can't get these herbs, with the ghee and the milk and warmed milk anyway, and the dates and the spices and herbs that you would put in, it can really help to sleep. It can help to put the mind to rest and give that little bit of heaviness at night that makes us fall asleep easier.
Sounds good too.
It's a treat.
Nourishing, yeah.
It is. It's very warming. It's like a warm blanket you kind of surround yourself with.
Awesome.
Very comforting.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Is there anything else that you want to talk about?
I think I do want to throw one more at you.
Yeah, totally.
Just because grief can so easily, and like I say, depending on the situation, and it doesn't always come as a shock, if you've seen a situation come to an end for a long time, but it still does have that effect on our body, mind. And one thing, if your grief really does turn into a long-standing issue and you have trouble letting go, and it turns into a latent depression or a heavier state of depression, in which case you really want to look for help. But one thing that you can also use is a tea 3 times a day made with holy basil. And again, you should be able to get that at your health food store, or some Indian food markets might have it, ethnical markets. And you would use a couple of teaspoons of dried holy basil leaves and a half a teaspoon ginger powder, dried ginger powder, and about a tablespoon date sugar or crystal sugar. And you boil that for about 10-15 minutes and drink that, and strain it, drink it 3 times a day. And that with time will also help to support your system. Again, holy basil is an adaptogen. It works on your nervous system. It has a very calming effect. And it really helps to kind of pick up the pieces and to get your mind in a more positive direction again.
Beautiful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Did you want to talk a little bit about your work and your programs?
Sure. What I do is I do Ayurvedic work I work with chronic fatigue people, because that's something that's my expertise, unfortunately, from personal experience. And it's a little bit similar because we're looking at stress to the body in a way that Vata is very affected. So there's a lot of personal experience and expertise with clients there as well. And I also work with athletes. So my fun, the chronic fatigue is it's not a fun issue to deal with. But the fun comes in when you take Ayurveda and you actually put it into an area where it's not normally used, and that for me is with personal training clients, with fitness people, and with athletes, and train them according to their dosha. So that's where my expertise is. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. I'd love to hear more about your program as you develop it. I heard that you're developing like an online program for Dosha Fit. Is that what you call it?
I am, yeah. I'm actually in the process of developing a certification course for Dosha Fit, and that should be out at the beginning of next year, first quarter, hopefully. And that will actually be a certificate course for personal trainers, for yoga instructors, and for health coaches to be able to use that system to get better results for their clients in training, in coaching, and also, for now in a one-on-one yoga setting, because it makes a big difference in how you approach the 3 types in these settings. So it's quite interesting. It's a lot of fun actually putting this together, and I can't wait for it to be done and come out.
I can't wait too. It sounds great.
I'll keep you updated.
Awesome.
Cool.
Well, thank you so much. I think we're good if you are.
Well, thanks for having me, Nicky.
You're welcome.
And I really hope that this helped some.
Yeah, it really helped. Yeah, it's really great talking to you, and I learned a lot from you. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Nicky.
You're welcome.